Are we live? For real? What the fuck? Hey, it's time to kick out the jams, motherfuckers, and hello, everybody. Welcome to Machtails from the Cantina Live, episode number 44. I am going to get by with a little help from my friends tonight, and I'm going to get high with a little help. Run out of time. I cannot find the time for much. And we're going to be talking about that tonight. We're going to be rewinding the clock, talking about Iccc in Nashville, Tennessee. Was it really Nashville, Tennessee? I think it was west of Mount Juliet, if I can recall. The drinking word tonight, you know what? If you're a Patreon member, drink. Drink because I could not do this show without you guys. I would not do this show without your support. And I got to thank all my producers, even the ones that are not joining us tonight, for their support because you guys make the wheels turn. I make it rock. You guys make it roll. Hey, I want to give a proper introduction to everybody here because I had not had time to do the handcrafted intro. Tonight we're going to be talking about Iccc and my return to Northern California. And I would like to welcome behind the magic curtain, behind the board that does a fucking really good job. And he impresses me every time he does it. But would you please welcome my brother, Matthew Rooney. Matthew.
Yo, hey. I'm glad
Are you ready for this train wreck
show.
and dumpster fire, brother? We decided
to
go. We decided to go live today. That's how much time we had to prep for this show because we are having a hard time lining up all these schedules.
Yeah, no, I'm ready. I got my pen. I took a shower today. I'm good.
Hey, you're one step ahead of me, my friend. I'm going to shower tonight. But hey, I got to give you a shout out because not only have you been producing the show for more than 12 months, you make some magic happen. Hey, we got to give a shout out to Dale Morris. Dale and his wife bought me a beer at the Nashville Sounds game. I drank a little too much at that game. What did you think, Matthew?
Well, we could. I have the arcade picture of you somewhere.
Yeah.
You were very dialed in that whole night at the arcade.
I was because I had too much to drink. Hey, brother Rich Brendel is tuning in live. He was a big part of this trip. Man, so all you guys joining tonight were a big part of the trip. I got this nice hat, custom made from producer and brother Ian Savage. I mean, this is a nice fucking hat. I wish I could get Machtails hats like these.
Yeah, you know? I wish I had a hat.
Well, you almost got a hat because you only joined us for the baseball game.
I know. I missed all the fun.
Hey, but you're still part of the Star Wars Super Friends group, aren't you?
That's true. Yeah, I got back in somehow, and I did find a picture of everybody that I am in. So,
hey, that's a rarity because it was a big group. Hey, we should have Rich Brendel come on and do a chug and a beer, a cheer and a beer, as I like to say. Man, I feel a little naked right now because we just went live without the countdown. We had no show intro. We're doing it now. We are the MC5 of the Star Wars podcasting community. We just like to kick out the jams. Rich is in, so we are going to get to Rich for a cheer and a beer. So, Rich, I want you to think about that. But Matthew is going to work his magic behind the scenes. Everything you see flash on the screen is all Matthew's magic. So, Matthew, thank you again for all your hard work, man.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I appreciate you very much. And we have somebody that, when I say I got high with a little help from my friends, I'm not talking about Brother Tyler Page. I'm talking about Todd Studlack. Hey, Todd, your hat. Where did you get that hat, man? That hat is awesome.
I know. It's a unique. Oh wait, you've got one too.
Well, it's a unique to the elite group of us.
Right.
You know, I see Ian backstage in the green room, like scrambling for his custom-made hat that he was responsible for.
Uh-huh.
I believe Brian left the screen to go get his, but Suds, I gotta give you a quick personal shout out because We did Mocktails live in like lightning flash 20 minutes from the Iccc, and you were the brother that was kind enough to give your chair, because we had 5 producers.
Oh yeah.
And you were the nice one to say, you know what, dude, don't worry about me. Let these boyos get their time to shine.
Yeah.
So,
It's, twofold. I mean, I can always come in here, and it was come on here like I am now. And little more importantly is I was hanging pretty low that day.
well, and you know what? That's okay, because I was hanging pretty low the day before.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Eric from Nashville.
Yes. Hey.
Eric from Nashville. I am hatless. He is hatless, but we can't. Yeah, I think he was hatless there too.
Yep.
But hey, I was disappointed on my birthday because you, me, and Brian Klein were going to go to the concert that they were going to put on with Dylan. And Dylan kind of, his schedule kind of stopped him from making the commitment happen, and we ended up getting drunk as skunks at the Nashville Sounds game, which is okay, because hey, I like to be at a ball game on my birthday, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that was a fun time. I really you can see
Matthew Rooney is just
you can see I was a little bit into my cups too, but it was. I always enjoy. I mean, I enjoy going to the baseball game. I don't necessarily watch it on TV because my opinion, if you're not at the stadium, there's, I'm not a huge, I won't choose to sit down and watch baseball on TV, but I certainly go to the park, and as compared between, the minor leagues and the major leagues, I always like a good minor league game because really anything can happen. You know what I mean? Like, there's always a chance somebody's gonna miss a throw or miss a tag, or
there's
something
more
crazy you
room
wouldn't
for
see at the
error,
next
right?
level. Right.
And you know what's cool about the AAA stuff is that we had seen some major league players from the Brewers and the Cubs that were kind of rehabbing their injuries or whatnot, or maybe they got sent down. So you definitely get a you get a major league taste at the AAA level, and man, just a good time. I feel like I drank too much because that room, not the room in the car. You rented a car, and we had a lot of room in the car, so I appreciate that. But the thing is that I think when you're in a car for 10 hours, you just can't wait out. You can't wait to get out and have a drink.
Yeah, we definitely hit it pretty hard as soon as we got down to Nashville, and it didn't really stop. Especially for me. I mean, it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. By the time Monday rolled around and we were heading back up north, I was feeling every single one of my 52 years. I mean, I was tired, and it took me quite a long time to feel right. And that's something that I have not done, drinking that many nights that heavily. Yeah, well, just like Dale just said, $4
$4 craft beers. It's hard to compete with. Well, like, why? See, here's the thing: when the beers are that cheap, don't you want to drink and consume more?
Well, yeah.
Like, hey, I'm getting my money's worth tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, and the beverages that we partook of at the was it the Tailgate Brewing brew pub right outside.
Yeah, those are like 8%.
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy, and it was a great time. It was
always a good time. Always a good time. I felt it the next morning because I actually threw up the next morning. So I kind of turned back I kind of slowed it down a little bit. because I was like, you know what? I'm starting like a racehorse right from the gates opening. I'm going a little too fast. So I had kind of paced myself. But I tell you, brother David Gladding is in Europe right now, and he
Yeah.
was in Munich.
Right.
And that was where I had my worst hangover. My second worst hangover was Star Wars Celebration after brother Brian Klein introduced me to Tyler Page. That was my second worst hangover. I did not feel that hungover, even though I got sick in the morning.
Right.
But I kind of, grabbed the reins and went about my business. You, however, you're a couple years older than me. So you had felt all 52 years, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, like I wasn't close to getting sick. I was just, I think I was probably more tired than. No, I was hungover. let's be 100% honest. I'm not used to that many late nights in a row.
I think I was starting to fall asleep when I was playing this pinball game, but we stumbled into a vintage arcade bar. I think Dale was the one that brought us to this place, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he was.
And I'm like, you know what? It's my birthday. We just went to a baseball game. I'm like, I love vintage arcade games. And I tried to take advantage of all of these. And I know Matthew had said that he was just kind of sitting in the back in his sober mindset because, Matthew doesn't drink. And he was just watching all of us in our drunken stupor.
Yeah.
And I tell you, man, there's nothing like playing these arcade games any day of the week. It was a great place to be. But hey, I know we talked about some great moments, but I want to bring on my brother Brian Klein because Brian Klein had surprised us all. Sons, I'm gonna keep you on. I'm gonna kind of bring everybody on, and I'm gonna keep us all on together like a big happy family that we are. But I can't expose Matthew because we can see him doing the magic and it's not as appealing to the eye. But brother Brian Klein, hey, the elusive.
I think this is like two or three shows in a row I've been on. You're right. You've been on 3 shows in a row now. You kind of have the opposite of what the Rays were the last team to lose 3 in a row. You have a little streak of your own going. You are on 3 Machtails shows in a row, and I'm so happy to have you. And when I looked at the calendar, and I'm like, oh shit, it's a weekday. Of course, Brian can join. We're not doing this on a weekend. Hey, Brian, congratulations again to you because you proposed to your lovely lady, and you guys told everybody in the group. But because I can't keep up with all these posts. It was a nice surprise to me, but I kind of seen it coming because I know how much you love her. I know how much she makes you happy, and I'm not surprised that you made the next move. So congratulations again to making that happen, man. Thanks. Originally, actually, it was supposed to be I was going to do it at City Winery when we were at the show.
Oh.
And the Tommy Howell show, and that fell through. And so that's when actually what's kind of funny is that it seems like I let the people we have that messenger group, I don't know which one it is, True Chicago Boys or what, the ones that
it's about 7 of those groups.
Leslie and Barry and Tyler and maybe someone else. And I'm like, hey, I'm bringing this to Nashville. And Barry and Tyler were like, oh my God. And then when we got there, it was just like, oh, didn't you guys see that?
Yeah. So, I think I was one of the ones was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What? You're gonna what? And then you reminded me that it was in the chat, and before it all happened, I scrolled back and said, oh yeah, there it is.
There's the ring.
Yeah.
I had no idea. So it was kind of a nice surprise. And it was funny because you were surprised when I was interviewing friends in the courtyard because I recorded some audio that is coming soon to all you Patreon members, along with a lot of great shit that I already have in the can. I just got to find time to kind of polish it. But I'm talking to somebody. It might have been one of the performers of the.
No, it was me.
It It was you. Okay, it was
Yeah,
you.
it was
So
me.
me and you were together, and
Uh-huh.
we were both pleasantly surprised.
Yep.
For a
Yeah.
minute, I thought I was talking to the burlesque performer, but I was talking to him later.
No.
You know, the thing was earlier, when we were sitting there, because we were at the Marriott, whatever, we were in the back patio area with the nice
courtyard,
fire, and we were all hanging out there over the course of the night because we were sitting there for a couple hours. I'm like, I showed Dan and I showed both the Ians and Zank and all these guys. So I thought everyone knew about it, and I figured you guys knew about it because I posted it in our group. And so, yeah, I mean, right there.
Well, you said earlier, Suds, don't assume, right? You have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I did it, it was
Look at this
just
group.
like,
I mean, is that the complete group?
No.
we're missing Sheldon and Craig, and as far as the group of like Glenn's not in there, but
Yeah.
as
I think
far
Glenn-
as
Sheldon's not in there.
no,
Yeah.
I did want to address something that came up because of what Eric said about him not having a hat.
Uh-huh.
Our, pretty much most of the people here are in the Star Wars Super Friends group, which is a group that I created on Facebook Messenger for a Zoom hang with the RFR guys back during pandemic. And it was all the people I knew that were Star Wars fans. And, I feel so proud of the fact that we basically, a lot of people, Dan and Ian, didn't know each other. And it's sort of like they became more like better friends through this group. Well, it's very much a really close, tight-knit group, and we're really kind of hard. So jokingly, what Matthew had mentioned was a few months ago, we brought Chris Sorrentino onto it. And I was like, one man enters, one man leaves. And we removed Matthew Rooney from it as a joke, but he was also like, I guess, was taking a break from the internet or something like that. And then we just forgot to add him back on. So I added him back in like not that long after it.
Oh, you never added him back.
No, because it was a joke with like Sorrentino, and he was just like, "Oh, sorry, Matthew." But then when we were there, we had a talk, and like guys that had been friends with everyone for a while, and so we added Craig Batts, Eric Stroud, and Stuart Tullis to our Super Friends group, because it's all people that are like all these people, I consider like family members, and this whole group of people here, we were hanging out, and it was just without the show, it's just like this was a great place for us to get together. And that was one of the reasons too why I was thinking about it when I was, getting my plans together to propose to Liz. It was like, you know what, want these guys to be involved with this somehow. And so, that's why when I did it, everyone was there. And, I think the only one that kind of recognized what was going on, because I brought Liz off to the side and we were looking at that, whatever that trellis overhang thing was. And then I did it, and I look over and Tyler's like making everyone like, Brian's proposing now. Brian's proposing now.
Yeah.
And but it was just, you can see here right in the middle there between Chris's head and Eric's head, right in the back next to me. So it was a great time.
I want to ask you guys, and hey, I got to add another brother to the chat, because he's responsible for the hats.
Yeah. That's what I was getting at. The reason why Eric didn't have a hat is that he was added to the Super Friends, which is what the SWSF, Star Wars Super Friends, means, is that's our group, and he was added after the fact. So next time we have a hang together, whatever, then if Ian makes more hats, then
he's having. But hey, Brian, here's a question for you, brother.
Yes.
Where is your hat?
Yeah,
it is. I went and looked for it, and I don't know where it is here. Obviously, people that have seen me do the shows before, I'm in a new house. I'm in a new place. I actually had to spruce it up a bit. So I've got my 40th anniversary Return of the Jedi poster framed back there. And also we had, I got this thing kind of cool is framed,
that is awesome.
With the two passes.
Yes.
I have to get Dan's to him still. I have two of those. I have to mail one off to Dan still.
Yeah. But again, like I was saying, was when I changed my cover photo on my Facebook page to that picture that pretty much that you just showed. And I had it listed on my computer as family, because I consider all you guys, like we're all, it's a band of brothers. So I love you guys.
It really is. You know what? And I want to ask you guys what your top 3 moments of Iccc are. I have to start it off with just kind of chiming in with what you said, Brian. I feel strongly that, and Suds, I love you, as you know, and Rich and Tyler. If it was just us four, it would have been okay. But I think when you have all these people together, this big group, and you have all the time, believe it or not, we actually had time to catch up with one another because we kind of turned the convention ended at 5, and we kind of turned that 5 o'clock stop into like a 2 o'clock in the morning kind of thing.
Mhm.
And it was one of those things where if you take away the people that we were with, it's just a convention. And I think at this point,
Right.
because we've all been in the game for a long time, we've been to how many conventions we can't even count. It's all about the people that are family. And when we went to Celebration last year, Celebration is a big convention.
Mhm.
And it was the first time we got together kind of post-pandemic.
Mhm.
And we kind of took that for granted, I felt like. And I felt like going to ICCC with all you guys. I remember Kevin Lyle was like, dude, you're going to bed. It's the last night. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to stay up till 2 in the morning with you guys to catch up, because when this day is over, it's just going to be a memory.
Right.
So I really wanted to tune in and spend individual time and group time with all you guys because, Brian, like you said, man, we are family.
Mhm.
And this is when we realize that Star Wars is more than just a film. We've known that for a long time, but we are living proof that this community that we're part of, this friendship that's become family, it's different than a movie. It's more than a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's the thing is, though, because I think it's just because all of us talk and chat daily on this in that group, and it's like Star Wars is probably maybe 10 or 15% of what we talk about. We talk about everything else.
Oh my God.
lately it's been
I made a Dune joke early on and they were like, kick him out.
no, and now it's just like we've been talking about Indiana Jones lately and other stuff, and it's just
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, and Ghostbusters. So it's just, and it doesn't even need to do any kind of format like that. People, and I think a lot of it is, Barry seems to be like the ringleader when he just posts a bunch of stuff, and then we just chat about that and other things. So
Yeah, he kind of like, throws it up against the wall and says, discuss.
yeah.
I love how after a while we're like, I bet Barry misses us, and we look at the chat and he literally posted a gif of a cricket.
Yeah.
Where are you guys?
Well, yeah, it was just like no one for like 3 days. That chat was kind of dead because it was pretty much just
Everybody
like
was in Nashville.
everyone was there except for like Sorrentino and Barry and
Don.
and Don. Yeah, so that was about it.
Yeah.
And Barry's the only one that's really a lot like the like you said, the ringleader, the guy that puts a lot of stuff going. Everyone else is sitting there talking in person. So
now I got to ask you guys, aside from this massive group that was, to me, it was bigger than Celebration Anaheim, because at Celebration Anaheim we had 2 houses that were about a mile apart, but this, we were all camped out at the Marriott for the
Or
most
close
part
by.
anyway.
yeah.
But it was close. It was within walking distance at least, right?
Yeah, I was
right
at the Hampton and
yeah.
it was like a 7-minute walk. So
Yeah, I mean, it was closer than the Anaheim houses. If
Yeah.
you took away the group from this experience, what was your favorite part about this convention? Such?
Being on, this was only my second trip to Nashville, and it was the first time on Broadway. I had never, last year at the convention, I didn't get to go to Broadway, and I know it's a touristy thing, and I know it's cheesy and stuff, but
People were drinking at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, like it was a
Right.
Friday night.
right, it was like, I would compare it to a very cleaned up and dressed up version of Bourbon Street, and more family friendly.
Yeah, without the police beating you up.
Right. Yeah.
or the
Or
beads.
beating me up, I should say.
Or the beads.
Or the beats.
Or the beads. But there was side titty involved in other places except for the beads. I had to throw that out there because I know Rich is waiting in the green room, and I know he's going to do a beer to some side titty.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know
It
what
was happens in
possessed me
Nashville,
to-
stays in Nashville, as we know. But okay, so it wasn't even the convention; it was just the destination, and I think that is what this convention. The first time I went to this was last year, and I
Mhm.
was all about the convention. But this time I was
Right.
about the outside experience and the mass gathering of friends. We did not have even this. We had about less than half of the group of people that we had this time. Now here's a question: did we overhype this event to, let's say, Ian? Because Brian and Suds, you were there last year.
Mhm.
Will you guys come back? Ian, will you come back? And if you don't, and if the other people that don't, because they're like, it was great to see everybody, but the convention was it was okay. I'd rather be on Broadway, kind of thing. We can't do it without this big group of people.
Yeah.
Ian, would you come back to this next year? Are we going to get another hat next year?
No, now I got to make something like, everybody moving on. We have to do a commemorative something or other each event. I mean, with any convention, it's not against ICCC, but ICCC, how we're going to say it. But I don't know if I wouldn't just travel by myself to go by myself to this convention. Of course, it's a long way. So that was a big incentive for everybody to be there for me, along with all the guests, and everything they had to offer, or at least was offered up, on the way leading up to the convention. But yeah, I mean, like a lot of things, I would definitely go back. If we plan this again, I will be there for sure. Because I mean, I had a great time. I was able to walk around and chat to folks, kind of like you and my co-host Dan did.
Yeah.
Got some great interviews. You guys got amazing interviews. I walked around and I was like, it was my first time ever doing that. So I was like, can I please, can I talk to you, please? But yeah, I would definitely go back, especially if you guys are going. It was a good convention. I mean, we all seemed overwhelmed in the beginning, but once you figured out the path of where to get and stuff, it was pretty much a straightforward, like, here's the convention, here's the music, here's the podcast, everything back.
No, okay, Sons of Brian, you guys were there with me last year. I had made that decision up to go last year, like the night before, which was a big part of the excitement, right? And when we were at that convention last year, I just felt like the Anthony Daniels show, the Ian McDermott show, the Clone Wars show, the Jad show. It was just a really big thing in a small space. I felt like this was a big thing in a big place. I felt like it kind of took away from a little bit of the intimacy that I experienced last year. Do you guys feel the same way?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was nice to be able to walk around without bumping into people all the times, but a lot of times it was just like, especially when you walked out from the dealer room into the main outside area where you're going to different places, and it was almost sometimes like it was like a ghost town.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was too big of a place, right?
Probably. So. I think they said that we were talking to some of it might have been Kevin or something that said they pretty much had the same amount of people this year as they did last year, but the place was so much bigger. Yeah.
I've heard that.
There's a lot of pros to that. I mean, there's a lot of really, really good things about that. And I feel like the idea that they had with just the variety of programming was very well thought out. It was great to have the bands on the stage. And the arcade room that I never got to experience. I know they said something about a carnival. I think that kind of fell short. They had a lot of food trucks there. I strongly believe that the idea that they have is just so great that I really hope that everybody continues to go so this convention can grow. But here's the thing. We don't want the convention to turn into Star Wars Celebration where we need to sleep outside for 5 hours or 7 hours or whatever.
That was one of the cool things is that the main room, that like airplane hangar that had the main room, like the main stage, it was never, you could always get a great seat to the show.
Yeah.
It felt actually so much so that like Sunday I went to the Cowboy Bebop like retrospective with Steve Ballmer and his wife, And we got there, and it was like Liz and I got there 10 minutes before showtime. We were literally the first 2 people in. We got front row, like right off to the left. So a lot of the pictures they have from later on when they had to Return of the Jedi thing, you could see us because we're right there. We stayed there. But it was just finally, people trickled in, and there was like 15 people, but it just seemed like it was a dead. I mean, even the Return of the Jedi panel McDiarmid was there, and it was a big show. It was probably maybe 30% full, maybe 40.
Yeah,
because the place was so big.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, that was one of the. It was a blessing and a curse. Blessing in that, like Brian said, the I would almost call it a conference room, but the ballroom they had the panels in last year. If you didn't get there a half hour before what was going to be a popular panel, like Ian or Anthony Daniels, you were going to be standing room only along the wall.
Mm-hmm.
This time around,
which was not a bad seat.
right?
No.
But if you wanted to sit down after walking the convention floor and the dealer floor,
Yeah,
you still having to stand, could be a bummer. But at the same time, I'm thinking of it in terms of, if I'm running ICCC as a convention, as a business, I would probably look for another venue that's somewhere in between.
where,
yes. Something that, just like Goldilocks is just right. Because
well, they're locked into here for 3 more years though.
Yeah,
into that place.
Well, they're locked in, but they have to take Memorial Day weekend. Is what Michael said.
I can tell you this though. Sunday when we were walking around like 3:00 in the vendor area,
I
don't think a single vendor was happy because they were saying there was too much stuff going. A lot of people last year I talked to a couple of the artists there that were selling their like their prints and stuff, and they were like, last year was like a white whale, and it was awesome because it was low cost and we sold a ton of stuff. This year they said that you didn't have to, because last year you pretty much were spending a lot of your free time in the dealer room because of the way that the traffic led. That's where people went to. Here they're like, they had so many other things going on that you didn't have to spend your time in the dealer room. And so people weren't buying as much stuff. Plus there was a lot more vendors. I mean, the vendors that vendor room had to be twice as big, maybe bigger than last year.
No, I want to say 4 times as big.
Okay, really? So there's more competition.
Huge.
I saw this one guy who said that they were coming up from Florida, Jacksonville area, and they just had their stuff delivered right there. They didn't even bring it with them because they're like, last year they sold so much, and the guy's like, yeah, we don't know what to do with like 80% of our stuff because we sold like 10% of what we did last year.
Jeez.
So yeah, I mean,
because I can relate to that too, because Joliet Fan Days in the suburbs here, made famous by the Blues Brothers because it's not too far away from the prison. I remember when I was invited to screen The Force Within Us there, and guy Jody McCorders was a 501st guy. He's like, hey, I want you to know it's a family event. You might not get a great turnout for the film. And I'm like, well, can I sell some of my extra Star Wars shit? And he goes, yeah, sure. So the first 2 years of doing that, I made like $2,000. And I'm like, oh my God, this is great. I don't care, if people don't come to see my movie, that's fine. So by the 3rd year, very much like ICCC, what had happened was so many vendors were interested and got on board, and they flooded out the market, So for some reason, I'm not surprised. Brian has turned into a Funko Pop. I'm not surprised. He's the Funko Pop master. But I can see the dealers being aggravated because it's one of those things where, you made a lot of money last year, and then a year later, things change, things get bigger. Everybody's part of the party now, and now you're selling 10%. Again, hats off to Michael Havens and all that those guys do. I know they worked hard. They run a very, very tight ship. They give us some great programming, wonderful ideas. It's just very interesting for us as fans to experience it last year in its form that it's been in 5 years, and then take it to the next level. But Suds, like you said, you got to be like Goldilocks and get it just right, because there's got to be a happy middle, happy medium.
You got to have less stuff outside of the area where the dealers are to like distract people. Like, I'm surprised they didn't have a rodeo and like bull fighting or something like that. They did have the helicopter ride. When they added the helicopter ride, I remember we were talking like, oh my god, demolition derby.
One of the things I want to talk about that we all had got a chance to experience was the burlesque show. This was done very tastefully. Ian, you had kind of a funny experience because you walked in at kind of an inappropriate moment.
Yeah, it was kind of like a Wayne's World like scene or something. Like I walked I walked in with a beer in each hand. The spotlight seemed to hit me, even though I know it didn't. And legs were splayed, and everybody was like,
legs were displayed in the air in a V formation.
Yeah. And then everybody's like, this fucking idiot, he just walked in. Don't everybody tell him what happened. I'm like, I can't imagine.
And then it's appropriate because we had talked about the Empire Strikes Back that's happening in Chicago here. So we are no strangers to the burlesque show. Oh, hey, but you know what? Brian just jumped off because he's like, you know what? I'm a happily engaged man.
No, he wasn't there. He wasn't there for the burlesque show.
He wasn't there. And you know what?
Yeah.
That's a shout out to Brother Glenn Nelson that's saying, happily married. How can you be happily married? Well, you know what?
Jesus.
Brother Glenn Nelson is never going to be able to let that go.
Nice.
Brian just he used that force power that they use in episode 1.
Yeah.
On the ship where they're running from the droid decals, where they just kind of disappear.
This came out of nowhere. Like you said, we were all on the porch, and I mean, I've talked about this a couple times now. After this show,
we're literally sitting on a porch. I don't know if we got the group photo that they'll put together the Target red shirt Millennium Falcon.
Oh yeah,
group photo, and we're literally sitting on like a country porch, like a Cracker Barrel type. Yeah. And we go into this room, and here's all these burlesque dancers.
Oh, that's right. Yes. I didn't get to see this the show like you guys saw this here. I only saw the after hours.
Uh-huh. That one's my favorite. I like her. She purdy.
Calm down, Todd. Calm down.
Hey, my wife and
Todd,
I
you are a happily married man. I know you are.
Yeah, but right now my wife and I are separated. I'm here and she's in Philadelphia.
Oh, Jesus.
You're physically separated, not emotionally.
Yeah. Don't get everybody worried out there. We're like, wait, what?
Wait, that's like the one April Fool's Day. I got back when you can change your relationship status on Facebook. I changed my relationship status from married to it's complicated. And you would not
believe religion and politics.
Yeah, you would not believe the number of phone calls and messages my wife got, and I never told her what I did.
Hey, Brian said that it has nothing to do with his engagement. Sorry, my internet went out because he is in a new location, so he had to run outside to get a good signal. So hey, all right, Brian, I'm glad you're still somewhat with us. Are you still somewhat with us, Brian? Hey, Ian, that was the girl that was she Han? She was Han Solo.
Oh gosh, I can't remember because by that time we already had drinks over at the other place.
Yeah,
but they were nice enough to give us our group tickets to go see it.
Hey, what happens in Mount Julep stays in Mount Julep. And this is a great segue to bring on Brother Rich Brendel for a little cheers and beers segment. Beers and cheers. We're going to keep this a regular here on Mocktails from the Cantina Live. And
hey,
Brother Rich standing by. Rich, how are you, man?
Doing good, man. Doing good.
Rich,
I was going to say Happy Friday, but it's Tuesday night, isn't it?
Yeah, happy hump day.
It's Wednesday. Yeah. I don't even know what fucking day of the week it is.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Rich, we always like to give you the honor because this is the segment we love to give to you. What are you cheersing tonight, my brother?
You know, I got to do a cheers to my brother, Kevin Lyle. He saved my butt at the convention.
Yes. Amen to, and you know what, Kevin, I love Kevin. He might have borrowed an idea from mine. But hey, he did make this great shirt.
I have the Chris Mock inspired glass. Also.
Yeah, you got the Chris Mock inspired glass, right? Yeah, it's an inspiration. It's an inspiration from one brother to another.
Yeah.
Yes, Kevin Lyle helped me out last year, and he helped you out this year. And Kevin is just spreading the love of helping everybody out. He does a really, really good job at the MC part and the interview part at Iccc Con. And you know what? I'm a little disappointed, though, because I told Kevin, I said, Kevin, I really want to do some audio with you. And he's like, oh, I'm really busy at my booth. He's like, can we do it later? We never got around to it. Hey, there he is right now. Hey, you know what? He's got his arm around Liz.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, but you see how she's leaning away?
Yeah,
Well, what's Brian doing up there?
Brian's going, oh my God, you didn't do that, did you?
That's not a good pose.
You know, we can all like have a little, what do they call this? Caption this photo moment here, you know?
Yeah.
All right, so hey, we're all gonna drink to Kevin Lyle. Cheers to Kevin Lyle, and thank you for all the hard work you do, all the creativity you give us, and for bailing us out at Iccc and for monitoring that stage. Cheers to you.
Amen to that.
Amen.
To that. Rich, what was your favorite part about Iccc? Now that I got you on the show for a minute.
It was probably just being with friends. Just being with friends. I'll sit back down again here.
Now, are you coming back? Are you coming back next year if that's in your cards?
Yeah, that's the plan. I mean,
Rich,
I was even talking with
Rich, what did you chug tonight?
What was that?
You didn't even tell us what you chugged.
Oh, it was High Life.
High Life.
High Life.
Nice.
That sounds like something that Ian Savage would drink.
I know. It used to be the Natty Light. No more, fellas. No more.
Hey, Ian, I know you're going to Smoky Mountains. There is I believe it's the Gatlinburg Brewery or the Smoky Mountains Brewery. They have a natty, like NATTY. It's tied into. Is it tied into Gatlinburg? They have a Gaddy. They have a Gaddy light. A Gaddy light. But they make some really kick-ass beers. So if you make it to that place, which I highly recommend, the food choices are limited. It's more like pizzas. But the beer is incredible. Incredible. For sure. Hey,
I
Rich.
was talking with Stuart Tullis, and him, Craig, Glenn, me, Sheldon, we all got together, and you were there too. All Fan Days 3 in 2009.
Yes,
that's 6 of us. That's the most of us that have been in one place since.
That was a reunion, man. I mean, look at this crowd.
Could be even before Celebration Anaheim.
Everywhere we went, I gotta point this out.
In 2014.
Super important. So I did the live show right before I performed with Glenn Nelson on stage.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, man, we had more people at the podcast stage than Ian McDermott and John Rhys Davies themselves. And we had the biggest crowd for our musical performance simply because our friends are so supportive because they treat us like family and they support everything we do. So everywhere we went, there was just like this big pocket of people. It was almost like you got to picture Pigpen from the Peanuts game
We got all that dirt around him.
With the dust.
It was us and all our friends around Iccc, man. It was, that's a testament of what our friends mean to us and what they do for us to support our
You know what?
activity.
We are the Star Wars Super Friends, but I think we acted as the Borg during that because we kind of assimilated about another 6 people into the group after that one. So I think we kind of resistance is futile with us, man. We're gonna have a good time.
Yep.
I mean, we even had the biggest group at the baseball game too.
Yeah, I'm sad I missed that, man. I couldn't come in another day earlier. I planned on it, but I was like,
You know what's funny? You missed the baseball game, and I know Matthew Rooney's like, oh, damn it, I missed the convention. So it's like, it was very hard to get everybody all together all the time because it was a large group. And as you guys know, just getting the producers on to do this live show and to add your talents to Machtails from the Cantina, it's challenging to get everybody on board. It really, really is. Yeah. But I'm so thankful for it. So thankful for the support. Rich, hey, cheers and a beers to Kevin Lyle. Hey,
man. One more thing.
Yes.
You know what started this whole Super Friends thing? I'm pretty sure it was your birthday party, Mock, during the pandemic. Like that
12-hour Zoom binge drinking extravaganza. That could have been the birth of the Super Friends.
I think that's what started it all. And not long after that, the Super Friends emerged, and we just started getting together more and more during the pandemic.
Yeah, and you know what? Hey, that's the silver lining. You got to find the silver lining in the negativity. The silver lining during the pandemic was everybody getting together on Zoom. Everybody, I have a note here. What does this note say from my daughter? What does this note say? Can you play Roblox? Yes, you can play Roblox on my phone. On my phone is going to...
Wait, was she standing right in front of you there? She wrote down a note and just...
Can I play Roblox?
Please
I'm like, I'm on stage right now, and I got a word from the production manager.
Don't bother me, kid. I'm broadcasting.
Exactly. But yes, the pandemic was the birth of this. I wouldn't say the birth of the Star Wars family because we already had something ruined before that. But it was definitely the silver lining, and we all came together to talk about Star Wars and life and all the shit that we were going through, And here's a very sober Glenn Nelson and myself.
Yeah, that must have been the very beginning of the night.
Hey, I got to tell you, this is a very sober Glenn Nelson because by the time the actor, God, why does it help me out here?
Spencer Wilding.
Spencer Wilding, yes. So Spencer Wilding
Darth
was
Vader.
doing this thing with Jesse.
Oh God!
They took like 30 takes of Spencer
I
Wilding.
I thought Jesse passed out at first. It scared me at first because my back was turned and I heard him hit the ground. I'm like,
Jesse
what
was
the hell
such a good
happened?
actor. And that night, I'd never seen anybody like that's the kind of night that you're like, you know what? I've had a lot to drink, but I feel pretty sober standing next to my friends that have drank a little bit more than me.
Right.
You didn't have to roommate with him.
He that first night that he said that he got so overly indulged. He spent the night in the second bed in my room that night.
Yeah.
Chris, you said you threw up that day. Was it in the bathroom or
Spencer himself? Give it Spencer an interview.
It looks like he's about to punch
Yes,
you.
it was in the bathroom. Yes.
It looks like you just offended his girlfriend. You're like, whoa, dude, come on, whoa.
Hey, kudos to Boston Dan because not only did Boston Dan help me out with the audio, that's Boston Dan's cable and microphone. He was the field engineer, but he was not only the field engineer, but there he is right there. He is taking photos.
Yeah,
he's almost he's like an audio Ghostbuster.
Yeah, he's an audio Ghostbuster. Man, so much great stuff. And I got to tell you, I'm going to keep a lot of this behind, as Jimmy Mack says, is this behind the paywall? Yes, it is. This interview here with Scott Schwartz was so, God, it was such a great, unexpected interview. You guys know I'm a huge fan of The Christmas Story. He was there. He was a little bit of a random guest there, but I'm like, hey, I'm a huge fan of his. The only thing I did not talk to him about was his time in the porno industry.
Yeah,
Lord.
I think that was probably best that you don't bring
I didn't know that was a thing, but thank you.
Yeah.
You know, I probably should have, but I tell you, interviewing this guy, he gave me so much good stuff. You know, here's the thing about,
a while.
You know, hey, I got to plug Patreon again, man. $2 gets you behind the paywall, and you can hear interviews that I did at Iccc. Iccc. You know, and if you guys want to jump on as producers or whatever, you guys will get your money's worth, and I could not do it without you guys. But I'm a big, like, hey, let's keep things behind the paywall because you guys deserve some heavy exclusive content, more than early bird kind of shit. You know, it's like I want to make it for you guys. So you guys want to join the Machtails from the Cantina Patreon community? We'd love to have you, Rich. Thank you for being on the show tonight.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey, all the time, brother. It's always a pleasure. Suds, thank you for joining, and thank you for being a producer. We are going to get into the next portion of this program. Suds, I'm going to keep you on because you might have a couple questions for me yourself.
All right.
But we want to take a trip to Northern California.
Yeah.
Man, I tell you, life's been a whirlwind. God, where the fuck do I start? I feel like I went from Nashville, back to home, to Northern California, back to home to work a bunch of days,
back to Nashville,
back to the Smoky Mountains.
Well, so this was for the Forest Moon Festival. So how did this all start, man? Like, because I didn't know this was this like kind of like right around when we were leaving? It seemed like it was real fast and abrupt, like when you told us about it.
It really was. And you know what? I gotta say that the Forest Moon Festival, a lot of this has been behind the paywall because I've informed a lot of people with the podcast. But I got an email from this guy, Tracy Boyd, and his wife. They are part of the Del Norte Film Commission. And the Del Norte Film Commission, that's the county that I filmed in 11 years ago. I had contacted them and I had said, hey, I'm going to film in your county. Do I need to do anything to film here? No, just put us in the credits.
Yeah.
So I get this email 11 years later saying, hey, you made a film out here. We're doing a 40th anniversary for Return of the Jedi. We need you to be part of it. So I was part of a Return of the Jedi panel with Jim Bloom. He's a deep cut, but he's done a lot of shit. He was with George Lucas on American Graffiti, and then he worked on Empire Strikes Back. He was in Norway. He worked on Return of the Jedi, worked on so many big productions. And Tracy Boyd, the guy that reached out to me, he's a producer himself. He worked on The Descendants with George Clooney. He filmed out in Kauai. He lived there for 2 months, so me and him hit it off because you know I've gone to Kauai several times. So it's just like this kind of magical moment of, hey, you guys did something out here. Why don't you guys come and be part of this panel? I'll get you 2 screenings in Northern California. And the rest is kind of history. But it kind of was not official until they had offered me some funds to help me get out there because, look, I flew into San Francisco from Chicago. Then I drove all the way to Northern California.
How long was that drive?
From door to door. By the time I left my house, by the time I got up there, it was 14 and a half hours.
Oh, Jesus.
That was all in one day. So it was not an easy trek, but man, the memories. I mean, here we are. Okay, this is downtown Arcata. It's the Force Within us with the Spider-Verse, Little Mermaid, and You Hurt My Feelings. on the marquee. On the marquee. And, you know, it was, when I saw my name on the marquee, and so it says FMF, that's not a sexual thing, that's the Forest Moon Festival. And I'm like, oh my God, they, you know, and you saw my poster in the poster box. I just felt like this film that I had done 11 years ago that was released 10 years ago is still prevalent.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, it's because it's Star Wars. Now, okay, this is the one in Crescent City, and Crescent City is right outside Smith River. That's really truly Star Wars country. This was my poster in the window. So Crescent City is a little bit behind with the times, but the minor theater in Arcata, I don't want to say Arcata, it's Arcata. They were a little bit more hip downtown. So this is my poster in the window of my second screening. Now I do have a funny story I want to share with everybody. So you know that I dropped the F-bomb once in The Force Within Us, and Glenn was like, "Why did you have to swear in that film?" And I'm like, "Freedom of speech, brother." Freedom of speech. So then I'm sitting in the theater next to Stormtrooper Michael Brown. I reunited with him. You know, we tried to have him on the show. Last show we did was May 4th. God, we are long overdue for a live show. So we're going to go over. But me and Michael Brown reunited for the first time in 11 years. You know, he was the Stormtrooper and the Imperial officer. And he's from Crescent City. And I'm sitting next to him, and I'm thinking, man, I should fucking dip out of here. I'm like, I don't want to hear the boos and the hisses over the swearing in this family-oriented theater. So they hear me drop the F-bomb in Cheatham Grove, which I filmed a lot of Patreon stuff for you guys. And then at the end, the Ewok handler says, "I'll tell you a funny story," as soon as he turns that camera off. And then he goes, "Harrison Ford was so aggravated with his lines, he called the Ewoks furry little fuckers." and the crowd just erupted in laughter. And I was like, my God, I'm like, I can't believe you guys responded completely opposite of what I thought you were.
Uh-huh.
And then somebody goes, "Honey, you're in Humboldt County." And I kind of remember Humboldt County from 11 years ago.
Uh-huh.
You know, so it was, man, but it was really strange to return. This is at the first theater. The first theater, the attendance was a little lighter than it should have been, and I was kind of aggravated and frustrated. You know, kind of I want to smash my guitar kind of feeling. And but I mean, just to see the film on screen, you know, funny story. So this theater made a deal. They're like, "Hey, we need a $250 guarantee. We need a $250 guarantee." They sold their tickets for $15 a pop. We did not break $250.
Oops.
I did not realize that this was the theater that I made that deal with. I thought the theater that I made that deal with was the one up in Crescent City, which was the next day.
Uh-huh.
So I get up to Crescent City, and I'm like, "How many tickets have you pre-sold?" And Crescent City is like another 2-hour drive from where I was staying, from this theater. So I'm driving. Gas is like fucking $5.70 a gallon out there. I got this big ass SUV. I mean, I'm like, God damn, I'm like, I'm going to lose money on this trip, which I lost a little money, but you know, thank God for you Patreon members. You kind of help fund this experience and these moments that I'm having. And I get up there and I'm like, "How many tickets did you sell in advance?" They're like, 4. I'm like, how much were you selling tickets for? $7.50. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I'm fucked. So I call Tyler, I call Brad Riverdahl. I'm like, I need somebody to talk me off. I call my wife.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, they're all like, "Hey, man, you know, don't worry about it. Enjoy the moment." Well, what I realized was at the theater that I was at in Crescent City, I actually made money on.
Oh.
And there were actually 30 people in attendance there.
Yeah.
So it went from 4 to 30. And I'm like, you know what? This is a great crowd. So I'm sitting in the crowd. doing a Q&A with Michael Brown. Michael Brown was on a microphone. It was a great moment for him because he doesn't get these kind of convention moments, you know? So he's on the microphone, and I'm taking questions from the crowd. And there's this guy in the back of the room going, you know what? I was the chief of police here in Humboldt County in Crescent. Yeah. He's like, we almost had to shut down production. And I said, well, why is that? He goes, we received a suspicious package that we were told it was a package of cocaine.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So they deliver this box of cocaine to the cinematographer.
Uh-huh.
I cannot remember who the cinematographer was in Crescent City.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, if he was the one that was doing the coke deal for Carrie Fisher, whatever.
Allegedly,
yeah, because we know that, God bless Carrie, we know that she's like the rest of us. We all have our own little hang-ups. Mm-hmm. So they deliver the package of cocaine, and they're like, yeah, do you want to open that up to make sure that it's the goods received is intact? He opens it up. He's like, yeah, it's fine.
Oh, Lord.
So somebody up in Crescent City got arrested, and we know that it wasn't Robert Watts because Robert Watts was in The Force Within Us.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't Carrie Fisher because, you know, Carrie was, you know, went on his business as usual. But it's here I am in the place that I got all these great interviews with people for the second Star Wars documentary, and I'm still getting great content.
Well, can I kind of step back and just ask, like, when you first get there, what's like the layout of the festival itself? Like you say the theaters are vastly different.
Yeah, well, you want to talk about Iccc being spread out.
Well, that's what I was saying. We're talking about you know, just a little bit of a farm bureau, like a fair layout. And you're talking about hours difference. Like, so this sounds.
Yeah, I don't know if Brother Matthew Rooney could pull that map that I put on Patreon up. But of the festival, but the festival, I shit you not, from point A to point C, from south to north, it was probably, I was going to say 2 hours, but I want to say at least 3 hours.
So it wasn't centrally located in one spot. I thought I saw pictures, or was that people just outside the theater, or like I saw pictures of people together congregating at a place. So that's why I was like, I figured it was one, area.
The whole thing was a great idea, but a little strange because it was just it covered so much ground. It was Humboldt del Norte County. Yes.
That's why I was looking it up, and I was like, wait, is it Humboldt or is it Del Norte?
Yeah,
so
it's Humboldt / Del Norte.
Okay,
it was essentially two counties.
Del Norte.
Yeah, Del Norte, and it's Italian.
Yeah.
To go back to the Christmas story. But it's one of those things where, we've been to conventions. We've been to celebrations. You go out to Northern California, it was not that. It was because all these people from all these communities that are so tight-knit within their own individual communities, they kind of stayed within the programming that was there. Yeah, this is, I mean, look at that. That is a big fucking map. So if you look at the very top of Crescent City, and that didn't even get into Smith River, and that's where we filmed, and that's where they filmed the bunkers.
Oh, I see Smith River's like at the very top, right?
Yeah, and of course Fort Dick. I know Tom.
I was already going to get immature and say, "Does that say Fort Dick?"
Yeah,
I beat you to it.
Fort Dick was where. Yeah, when I did that Machtails podcast with all like the Dick Pole and there were all these dick names for the baseball players. I forgot to talk about Fort Dick. Wow, similar to Modesto shutting down filming on American Graffiti after one day, one crew member arrested for weed. Yeah, but and of course that was probably production on that was 1970, right? So. Yeah, and of course we get into Return of the Jedi 1982, and as we know from watching the movie Blow, Cocaine is the drug of choice in the 80s.
And as we all know from Rick James, cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Right.
Yeah, I've never tried it because I have enough energy going through my body. It would probably.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I would ever want to see you.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. You're welcome to Machtails this week.
Yeah, I should have got a Fort Dick shirt. Yes, I'm sure there's a Fort Dick shirt out there somewhere.
Rich will find it. It's on Woot.
Yeah, it's on Woot, Rich.
And I wanted to go to Fort Dick, but I just simply ran out of time. I mean, dude, the trip was so fast and furious that I wanted to bring my family out there. And my wife was like, you know what? We're out of this one.
Yeah.
Sit in a car. I don't want to sit in a plane and then drive in a car at 14 hours from door to door. It's too crazy. It's so sad because I actually blasted through wine country. There were so many stops. You guys know him. As Jimmy Mac called me a wino at one point on this show. It's very tempting because I'm driving on the 101 and I'm looking, on the left hand, the right hand side of me, I should say. And I'm like, look at all these vineyards. What a waste of my time that I can't stop and have one glass of wine. But one glass of wine leads to another. So in this photo here, Tracy Boyd is the guy on the left. And I'm going to have Tracy on Machtails from the Cantina. He was a producer of Downsizing with Matt Damon.
Oh, okay.
He's got a lot of really high-profile IMDb credits to his name. And again, he reminded me of Sheldon Norton because he is truly in the business. And Frank Yario, mind you, somebody that's in the business that I respect, that has done a lot more professional work than I have, but that respects a small fry like me because I had done something. And, at the end of the day, these are the people, Frank Yario, Sheldon Norton, Tracy Boyd, that look at me and they're like, hey, man, you did these documentaries, and I'm not a filmmaker, I'm a hobbyist. And it's the biggest compliment coming from people that are true professionals in the business. And Tracy, what a wonderful, wonderful guy. And anybody that's spent 2 months living in Hawaii knows how important those islands are. And we talked about that probably half the time that we spent together. So I got to thank him for bringing me out there. And man, what a crazy experience going back by myself. I mean, I literally missed it by 1 day. I mean, it was the anniversary, but I was always 1 day ahead of where I was 11 years ago. I mean, that's kind of fucking crazy, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
So after, did you have any people come up to you or any additional reception, like just for like people maybe seeing the documentary for the first time? Did you talk to folks about it?
Yes, I did. I did. And before, so this is at the Lost Coast Brewery, which we were at 11 years ago. I was there to the year and 1 day at this place. And I was like, I got to fucking promote my shit. So there was a chalk and a big chalkboard. And I'm like, I'm writing it right on the wall.
Yeah.
I used my street marketing gift.
Guerrilla marketing.
Yes, my guerrilla marketing. Yes. But to answer your question, the greatest thing about these screenings was that the people that were there were genuinely into the film. And I signed autographs. I took photos. I had one-on-ones with people. And some guy was with his kids in Crescent City, and their kids are in theater, and they were just really appreciative
that's cool.
of the art and the fact that I had filmed it in their city. They had connected to it. So, I mean, in a very, very strange way, it's like my little Star Wars story about me being a fan and my dad taking his life when I was 7 and me falling in love with Star Wars all over again and just becoming this big fan to fill a void that my father had left in the wake of his death.
Mm-hmm.
It finds me out in Northern California screening a film for people that were part of that community.
Mhm.
And the crazy thing is, the one that said these furry little fuckers, the Ewok handler, her cousin was in attendance in Crescent City. She goes, my cousin is Barbara Tryon. And I'm like, did you know she was in this movie? She goes, I had no fucking idea.
Oh man, that has to be a head trip. Being like, wait, whoa, like,
Yeah, and she's like, I need to buy some movies.
oh, that's hilarious.
So there were moments like that, you know. Oh yeah, here's another great story. So this is before the screening of the 40th for Jedi at the college, and I was part of the panel for this. And Mark Hamill had given this. It was a little bit of a generic, quick intro, but the fact that he had still given this intro for this was great.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, Mark Hamill probably has not been in Northern California since 1982. And he was, you know, essentially his video was like, hey, you know what? We filmed a little movie out here 41 years ago. And let me tell you, it was a special moment to be here. And I hope you guys enjoy this special moment today. And I'm thinking, man, just the fact that I'm part of this panel with Jim Bloom with an introduction to by Mark Hamill, part of me is like, I'm not worthy of this. That was my Wayne's World moment. Your Wayne's World moment was 2 beers in a hand, looking at the spread eagle. I mean, just surreal as fuck, you know.
What was your takeaway maybe from like this whole trip? I mean, I know you're just now getting back from really the whole shebang of basically a month and a half of, you know,
yeah, right,
going here and there.
Yes.
So
Well,
you're finally back home, settling down. What's your takeaway after that event?
Well, I think that's a really good question, because I feel like life has been so fast for me as of lately that the last 3 months, I mean, I feel like I just got back from Hawaii and I lost my dog, and that happened in January, and it's the middle of June. So I feel like all these moments that I'm going through, including Northern California, including Nashville, I feel like I need these photos and the audio that I recorded out there as parts to live in the moment, because I feel like there's so much shit day to day that the smoke isn't really cleared for me yet, because I haven't had time to necessarily slow down and reflect on this.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense, you know. I mean, I just got back from out of town with my family.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, you still like, it's like Flintstones. The feet on the Flintstones, just like you're just.
Exactly. And I know Antonio from New Jersey just dropped a couple episodes of The Lineage to me, and he's like, man, I don't know how you do it, because he's so busy. He's trying to play catch up with his busy Flintstone feet. And, you know, I would say the takeaway is that I'm so glad that I went out there and that I revisited these sites. And I think at the end of the day, though, getting the content that I shared with you guys on Patreon, that is capturing the moment when I was out there. You know, these little bonus videos that I throw out at you guys. I feel like those are really that was how I felt at that moment, you know? And I'm glad I recorded that, because now it's kind of more of a reflection. And I mean, I'm glad it happened. I'm glad it happened. I'm glad that they were supportive of getting me out there. I'm glad I got a little funds to kind of cover the loss of going out there. And one thing I realized is, damn, every time that Lucas films somewhere, even in the States, it's so remote.
Well,
that makes sense.
I mean, it makes sense, but I mean, would you really think that
you can't plan an easy trip?
Right.
You know, because a lot of people have said, "Oh yeah, I went to the Northern Cal, I went to the Redwoods, Muir Woods outside San Francisco." You know, they might have did one pickup shot there, but to get the full-on experience of Return of the Jedi, you really need to go where like your cell phone signal shit.
Yeah.
You know, there's no mom. They're all mom and pop restaurants in downtown. You know, you're almost.
Well, that's good. That's all right.
You know, I mean, it's very. Very non-commercial oriented city back then, and still to this day. You know,
That's cool.
That's probably why it's so beautiful, right? I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think so. Because they have not overpopulated it. You know, they have not overpopulated. But I think that is what my takeaway is. And you know what? If any of you guys are thinking about going to Star Wars filming locations, I would probably highly recommend first Death Valley, because I feel like that one's, even though that one's hard to get to as well, and it's hot as fuck.
I was just gonna ask. I'm like, how hot does it get there, dude?
Don't do it in July in any of the
August.
summer months for sure.
Yeah, I mean, when we were there in April, it was hot, but it's a desert, right? Because it gets cold at night. It's hot as hell in the day. But you know what? Here's the thing: when you go, the only thing that was recognizable is that photo that Matthew Rooney showed with me by the tree. You know, if you guys watch Return of the Jedi, the speeder bike chase scene,
that's the tree.
That is the fucking tree. Make no mistake or no doubts about it. And there's also the scissor tree as well.
Scissor tree.
The story is that they went around in a steady cam and they filmed on this little path all these trees. And when they brought it in a green screen or blue screen, whatever they were using for the speeder bikes, probably green screen, they had sped this scene up. This is the only thing in Northern California that looks familiar. Unfortunately, they closed down the ship ashore. That was where they filmed. That was where the film crew had stayed. That was where all the business was conducted. That place is probably going to eventually be torn down. That is like the Norway Hotel of California, right? They have Fins 12 1222, kind of like ICCC. Yeah, they got the 3 2s. He's got the triple C. So it's that hotel in Norway. If you go to Norway, you got to stay at that hotel because that is where the crew had stayed at.
And that's where they shot right outside the door, right?
That is where they shot right outside the door. And the crazy thing is, and I know we're talking about Northern California, but I'm looking at all these behind the scenes photos that have surfaced from Norway, like Mark Hamill, like reading a magazine outside. That hotel, small hotel, I stayed there.
Yeah.
We shot there. So it's still there. You got to take advantage of these places while they are still there because you don't know how much longer they are going to be there. Unfortunately, ship ashore is closed down. So Northern California is very, very beautiful. I met Michael Brown at this little seafood joint. The seafood out there is amazing. And this guy sitting here to the right with the Boba Fett jacket, I'm getting aggravated at this point because I knew that we only sold 4 tickets. And I go up to this guy and I'm like, "Hey man, you going to the fucking Force Within a screening tonight?" He's like, "No man, I gotta leave. I gotta leave in an hour." He knew about the documentary. Everybody knew about the documentary, but we just could not put the asses in the seats to its full capacity.
You should have been wearing the Force Within his t-shirt when you asked the question.
You know what? I should have. I felt like it was kind of, you know what? I can't remember what the fuck I was wearing on this day. I can't remember. but anyways, I went up to this guy and he was very, very nice. And he wasn't there for the screening. But I had told him, I said, "Hey man, Michael Brown, you want to talk to this guy? This guy was a stormtrooper and an Imperial officer on it." And Michael is so humble. And this is his hometown. This is where he was born, raised, grew up. And
wow.
so this guy on the right, I took this photo because you could tell the guy's excited to talk to him. And you could tell that Michael is just, wanting to tell some cool stories.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was there to kind of pimp Michael Brown out a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I mean, without him, and God, I invited a couple other people that were in the force within us to come out to the screening, but they were not available or they were not interested. And I'm thinking, man, I am really lucky that I got them on camera, because if they don't even want to come to the theater of the film that they were in, are they regretting being on camera?
Yeah. What did your movie do to their life, Chris?
Right.
I really don't know, but I haven't heard the immense praise that I've been craving, but I haven't heard the extreme hate that the Star Wars community is just doling out. not about my film, but about Star Wars in general.
Oh yeah, that's a whole nother Machtails live from the Cantina.
It really, really is. Hey, before we let you guys go, I did want to give a shout out. It is June. It is Pride Month. I want to give a shout out to my brothers and my sisters, my friends and my family, and my Patreon supporters that are part of the LGBTQ community. I raise my glass to you guys. That is my cheers and beers moment. Cheers to you guys. And cheers to everybody that has supported me all this way through, promoting and screening The Force Within Us on its 10th anniversary. I don't even feel like The Force Among Us got this kind of treatment, And, you guys know that this film, to me, is something that I wanted to make the first time around.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard for me to move past this fucking film, because when I watch it, I'm like, Jimmy Mack had said something in the film that resonates so true to this day. He says, when you start hating on what you love, you need to think about, what is it that I love about what I do love? And I think we interviewed him in 2012. And with all the people out there slamming, smashing, and hating on everything, Star Wars and everything in between, I feel like that is really one of the big quotes from the film that's a big takeaway that's still true to this day.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, because it's exhausting. It's exhausting, that kind of hatred, and then you think, well, geez, what are you really a fan of what you're hating? And I'm not talking about honest and fair critique. Jimmy Mack is definitely one that gives very honest but also fair critique, and it's a well-educated opinion. And that's not what what I think of when we talk about the hate that's out there. It's a good example are the people that will post that they hope Indy 5 fails so it will maybe get Kathleen Kennedy out of Lucasfilm.
That's fucking insane. That is nuts.
Right. Why would you root for something that you supposedly love, or love another brand under that corporate umbrella? Why would you root for that, for Lucasfilm to lose? Because you know what it's going to do if they start losing? We're going to get less Star Wars.
Yeah, and you know what? It baffles my mind that people would want to root for something to lose in general.
Right.
A lot of the internet comments just seem to be like just base level, like thumbs down, fart noise. Like, oh, good job, guy. I'm glad we know that. That's basically like the way I read stuff. I'm like, all right, who cares, man? Like, I think somebody the other day on the group was like, or in one of the things was like, oh yeah, Indy 5 this, like, oh, you should read about the ending. And I was just like, listen, I'm sorry you were spoiled. Like,
Yeah.
we'll all figure it out for ourselves in the theater. Like, whatever, man.
Which kind of brings to mind too. Thank God I have a very intimate, tight knit community that's not at some kind of extreme level. But I'm thinking, man, when I make a third documentary, is it going to get torn to pieces? I don't believe so, because I believe that everybody that loved the first two documentaries that I made, The Force Among Us and The Force Within Us, will appreciate what I make to close out that trilogy of documentaries. But
yeah,
I got to tell you, man, you nailed it right on the head. Why would you want to root for something to fail, It's even like Iccc. It's like, you know what? Was it a grand success for those people that put all their blood, sweat, and tears into it? I don't know, but you know what? I'm going to be in their corner next year.
Yeah.
Because I want that idea to blossom and to turn into something that's successful and worthwhile to them, because it's such a great idea. Just like Indiana Jones 5. It's a great fucking idea, man.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait.
And any other Star Wars project that comes to fruition is a great idea.
We got a lot. We got a lot coming.
It goes back to like I said, what if it's under the Lucasfilm umbrella, if Indy 5 does well, that's good for Star Wars. Even if you aren't a big time, even slightly more than casual Indy fan like myself. Like, I've seen the movies, but am I as deep into it as other people are? And certainly not as deep into that as I am in the Star Wars.
Yeah.
But does that mean that I'm a semi-casual fan? As a semi-casual fan, I would want to root for that to fail, because, like I said, if something under the Lucasfilm umbrella fails, everybody on the rest of the team is affected, and that includes Star Wars.
You know what? We are going to be back with another live episode next month, and I feel strongly that we need to kind of make an Indiana Jones episode, because, man, I tell you, when I watch Raiders of the Lost Ark, that gives me a feeling and a joy that when I watch even Empire or Rogue One for the 100th time, I'm like, you know what? Raiders is a good fucking movie.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be one of my, like that. And everything that Spielberg makes and everything that Spielberg, they haven't done a lot together, but Spielberg and Lucas combo, man, it's just some really, really, really good stuff.
Yep.
And you know what? Hey, you know what? Why don't we do that now? Why don't we plan a date next month, July? We are going to return with live show number 45. We're going to focus all on Indiana Jones, because I want to celebrate this movie and this franchise. You know what? There is no Patreon name draw tonight because I don't have the tins. I left the tins.
Oh, you left them? I thought they were absconded with.
No, he figured out that they were left on the way home.
I thought they were stolen, but thank God the guy that was running the podcast stage, somehow he was like, I reached out to him. He's like, oh, yeah, I got him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'll be back into Tennessee, but do I want to drive a half an hour to get those tins? I think I should. When I'm out, I'm going to be out there next month for my wife's friend's 50th surprise party. So I'm actually going back to Tennessee for the third time. You should just
move there by this point, man.
I should move. Yes, it is the Iowa of 2023, because I was in Iowa like 5 times back 2 years ago. But hey, I want to thank my producer, Todd Suds Sedlak, for sharing his stories, sharing his thoughts, and sharing his buzz with us on Machtails from the Cantina. Suds, I hope you can return for our Indiana Jones episode next month. And thank you again for your support and for joining the show, man.
Hey, man, no problem. Was great, and hope to do more in the future for sure.
Hey, man, ever since you got on board, brother, on New Year's Eve a couple years ago, I've always been a big fan of yours for being a big fan of mine, and I appreciate you for that.
Oh, you like me because I
love
you.
that. Yeah.
Hey, maybe that's weird talk, but hey, Ian Savage, I want to thank you for producing the show, and I want to direct people your way to Dan and Ian if they have questions. Obviously, producer of the show, but Boston Dan is the one that earned the IMDb credit for field producing because
it was a big deal. And I hope you can have Dan on to talk about all of you guys' excursion and go through those interviews. That'd be really cool.
Yeah,
yes. You know what? It's funny. I feel like a little bit of the Godfather with Machtails. I'm like, I'm gonna hang it up. And I'm like,
going in the vault.
Just when I thought it was out, they pull me back in.
Yeah.
So as the content keeps coming, or as the content keeps rolling in my mind, as they say, the show is going to go on. I got to thank Brother Rich Brindle for sharing a chair and a beer. I also have to thank Dale Morris for tuning in. I know you guys were waiting for your name to be drawn, but it's just not going to happen on this show.
So how many times can Dale win, really? I mean,
hey, Dale won a whole episode. Even the unpolished episodes. Not a whole episode. He won 9 downloadable Real Fans of the Saga episodes.
Oh,
that was his prize, and that was a hefty one because that is no longer on Amazon Prime. And of course, I want to thank Brother Matthew Rooney and his cat. He looks so cuddly right now. Yeah, what's the cat's name?
Kuro, which means black in Japanese.
Kuro. Yeah, man. Hey, I want to give a shout out to new Patreon members. Well, tying it back to Japan, Steve Bennett. Steve Bennett was a roommate of mine, and
excellent.
No stranger to Japan. And my daughter wants me to take her to Japan and not producer. I can't call it. You know what? Here's the thing. He was a producer of the Real Fans of the Saga, but he's only a supporter of Mocktails from the Cantina. I don't want to put this pressure on him to become a producer.
You hear that, Steve?
But hey, I want to thank you guys for producing the show. I want to thank Brother Brian Clarn for joining us tonight. Another shout out to his engagement with his beautiful fiance, Liz. I wish the best for them, and we look forward to hearing from them. Remember, you can follow Brian Klein on Source Pages. And don't forget to check out Brother Brad Riverdale in the band The Bear Hambones. You can listen to them on Spotify, Apple Music, and Amazon. And producer Michael Wistock playing at the Whiskey A Go-Go on a weekly basis now. The legendary Whiskey A Go-Go. He's a frontman, man, for a great metal band. Astra 22. So be sure to check him out on YouTube. Man, how come you guys don't have your own fucking show?
It sounds like an idea. All right, let's go, guys.
We're on your show.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Hey, chut and choo choo. We will catch you guys next time on Mocktails from the Cantina. Remember, show number 45 will be all about Indiana Jones. Be well, be safe. Goodbye. Or I should say, is it good night, but not goodbye? You know how she says it in the B. Arthur's character in the holiday special. We'll catch you guys next time. So long, everybody.